The Finnish arch shimmers in the heat. The numbers on the clock wobble. I hold my granddaughter Emmy by the elbow. She walks, stubborn and quiet, arguing with the ground in bright sneakers. I'm Lydia Hart, 60. For years, I tried to keep life in neat columns. 6 months ago, I couldn't walk a block without stopping. Emmy couldn't lift her heel without pain. Back then, I knew how to pay, to organize, to control. Today, we cross the line together. The crowd claps for everyone brave enough to show up. Emmy's cheek shines with sweat. Somewhere, I hear Samantha's whistle, Nico's calm breathe, and Dr. Chang's rare smile. A hand-painted sign pops above the heads. Being there is a step. Time snaps into one clear point and drops me back to the day it all started. I'd come home early. Laughter in my living room. 2 chairs set like a tiny bridge. Emmy taking careful steps. Nico's hand at her waist. There when needed. Gone when not. I wanted to rush in and help. His look said, "Don't rescue too early." Emmy exhaled, took one more step, and laughed. A crack opened in my perfect formulas. Since then, the roles flipped. Money became a tool, not the answer. Silence turned into space where I could hear her breathing. Charts became small wins, not reports. I learned to tie my laces faster than I doubt, to ask for help, to keep quiet while someone else grows strong, to walk beside, not in front. We pass under the arch. A ribbon snaps. A plastic medal lands on our necks. I close my eyes and see my kitchen lit by the fridge light, 2 chairs turning a grown woman into an honest beginner. It all began with, "I'll try." For now, inhale, exhale, step. A whisper I carry like a prayer. Being there is a step. I woke before the alarm, not from discipline, from emptiness. Capsule coffee, traffic report, the highway full of trucks like beads on a string. After my husband died, I inherited a small transport company and told myself a simple truth. Love equals reliable payments and no delays. My office was a rectangle of symmetry, stapler line to the ruler, binders by height. People came with paperwork. I gave short answers. Short answers are steel doors. Above the desk, one stubborn stain of life. A photo at the ocean, my daughter June, on my shoulders. Foam and laughter that needs no caption. On the back, her handwriting, "Promise you'll always be there, Mom." I read it as "never pay a bill late." Years later, that line floated like a watermark over everything I did. After the crash that took June and left Emmy with shaky ankles and fear of loud sounds, I spoke to the world in contracts. The best doctors, tight schedules, envelopes ready at the door. Nico Alvarez, the physical therapist, came twice a week. I'd hand him a check and disappear so I wouldn't get in the way. Invisible, proper, wrong. Home mirrored me, blinds at one height, magnets holding bills, a quiet kitchen that rang from the smallest clink. A shoebox hid old running shoes. One more, "I'll start someday," buried under paper. My neighbor, Samantha Patel, once a school track coach, brought tomatoes and inconvenient truths. "You're too straight, Lydia. That's good for a shed, not for a life." I smiled like I hadn't heard. Evenings, I organized books, not myself. Some nights, my eyes found Emmy's school photo on the fridge. Green earplugs, steady gaze that asks, "Are you here?" or "just paying for it?" The day it shifted, I simply came home early and opened my own living room like a room, not a warehouse. Emmy's laugh, Nico's soft, "One more." The sound broke through all my noise, and the shame followed. The kind that pries a crack in the wall and lets air in. The barcode scanner at the depot died. The shift collapsed. I grabbed warm cinnamon rolls on the way home. the sugar apology for never having time. Keys hit the counter. The house answered not with silence, but with laughter. 2 chairs stood like a bridge. Emmy moved between them. Step, breath, pause. Black ankle cuffs hugged her shins. Sweat on her forehead, lips pressed thin. Nico's hand rested at her waistband, light as a seatbelt in turbulence. The body learns slow, he said. Let it answer. Emmy wobbled. I lunged. Decades of I'll save it, firing on reflex. Nico caught my eyes and shook his head. 1 second of support, then space. She steadied, took another step, laughed, quiet, private, just for us. That laughter had weight I'd never found in my ledgers. The sweet smell turned sticky, like excuses. I stepped onto the porch, air like cut grass and gasoline, and faced one hard truth. I knew everything I could pay for, and almost nothing I could be present for. Later, when they left, I set 2 chairs in my kitchen just the same, towels over the backs. I stood between them and stepped. Knees popped, back hummed, heart pounded. Another step. It wasn't a workout. It was an apology. Fridge light washed the room. On the door, Emmy's schedule, a stick figure drawing of people holding hands. I traced June's old note, promise you'll be there, and saw how often I promise had turned into I paid. By dawn, I'd rehearsed those clumsy adult steps half a dozen times. In my coat pocket, I found a small shell June once brought home. I ran my thumb over its ridges and finally said aloud, I'll try. Less than a vow, more than silence. Morning routine, broken by an orange flyer on the fridge. Charity run, distances for everyone, funds for children's rehab. Clip magnet next to a water bill. What does being there mean? Paying or walking? I dialed the number. We need sponsors, volunteers, runners, a bright voice said. Runner, I answered. 5K for beginners? Yes. I printed the confirmation and taped it up. Under goal, I wrote by hand, walk beside. That evening, I asked Emmy and Nico to stay in the kitchen. I set a loud egg timer on the table. I need a coach, I said. A strict one. Emmy turned the dial and listened to the tick like a heartbeat. Nico slid me a notebook and wrote 3 rules in block letters. No heroics. Log your progress. Don't rescue too early. I taped the page to my bathroom mirror. I dug out old shoes. The soles crumbled like cookies. Then went to buy real ones. The clerk watched me walk. You plant your feet like you're carrying deadlines, he said. Try planting them like you're carrying yourself. I smiled and left with simple, cushioned shoes. On the porch, Samantha caught me. Heard about the run, she said. Tomorrow, 1 loop around the block, not faster, not slower, no guilt. Water, mandatory. At 5 a.m., the street smelled like wet wood and newsprint. I walked the block, listening to my knees, my ankles, my breath that wanted to rush ahead. In my head, the mirror repeated, no heroics. I passed Emmy's window. The curtain twitched like an eyelash. I waved into the dark and kept walking. That afternoon, I still wrote a check to the center. Old habits die last. But for the first time, I set it on top of my new shoes. The order of things shifted. The air inside me did too. Learning to move fast at 60 is like learning to write with your other hand. The first loops were negotiations between me and my joints. Samantha lifted her mug from the porch like a starting flag. Drop the shoulders, she called. You're not carrying the world. You're carrying you. Emmy became my strict auditor. Her sticker notebook turned into our shared ledger. Minutes, steps, mood. On rough days, I wrote, irritable. She added a smiling lemon sticker. Sour still counts. Nico brought bands, a wobble cushion, soft blocks. He taught me to hold back my hands when Emmy falls into a movement. Give her the right to fail, he said. Failure is a muscle. My fingers learned to hover, not grab, harder than any mile. Dr. Chang reviewed my numbers and said the line I didn't expect. You're strong, Lydia. Your speed is measured in caution now. I typed it into my phone. Caution, speed. At work, the audit grew. Teeth. My deputy, Kelly Morris, wanted to polish the past. Old me would have drowned in emails until midnight. New me set a timer and went walking, even with a red flag in the inbox. No heroics now applied to the office, too. We found humor. One morning, I wore a compression sock inside out and couldn't figure out the itch. Samantha laughed until she spilled her tea. Emmy, serious as a judge, gave me a panda sticker for patience. Nico had me walk backwards along a wall. So you remember that retreat can be the right move. We built rituals. I tapped the door frame before every walk, my little promise to come back. Emmy wiped down her rails each night like a musician with an instrument. Samantha delivered lemonade. The ice sounded like tiny finish lines. Dr. Chang's half smile became a monthly bonus. 2 kilometers by fast walk arrived. Emmy proposed 5s. 5 steps, pause, 5 more. I used it at work too. 5 emails, water, 5 more. Kelly fumed. The audit moved like a metronome. I discovered that holding everything isn't noble. It's noisy. Training turned out to be about honesty. Name the limit, ask for help, rest on time, laugh at yourself, keep going when the couch calls. And trust the one beside you not to pull on your sleeve. Setbacks don't announce themselves. I stepped on one of Emmy's plastic figures near the stairs, twisted, and felt the mean crunch in my ankle. Not epic, domestic. Nico said ice and rest. Samantha said, 2 weeks, fridge to couch only. I nodded and snuck to the track on day 3 just to walk. 10 minutes in, sand ground inside my joint. I sat on the curb and wanted to cry with no witnesses. Home greeted me with a fancy envelope. The audit expanded. Kelly's text, told you you should have stayed. I set the phone face down. The kitchen light felt like an interrogation lamp. Old thoughts roared back. Too late. Can't do this. Why start? My phone buzzed. A video. Emmy walking a rehab hallway, hands on the rails, sweat on her forehead, no one beside her. 5 steps, pause, 5 more. At the end, she turned to the camera. Grandma, I believe, she whispered. Something turned inside me, like a key I thought was broken. I called Nico. I messed it up. Good, he said. Now we can do it right. Next morning, he brought a low bench and gave me the exercises I love to hate. Balance, slow calf stretch, isometrics to a kind shake. 4 weeks of careful, he said. Let the desire burn, not the tendons. At work, I hired an outside auditor and moved Kelly off parts of the job. Not pretty, correct. For once, I chose systems over my need to hold the world. At night, I watched frost grow on a bag of ice. A leash jingled outside like an alarm I hadn't set. Crisis, I realized, isn't where things break. It's where lying stops. I couldn't say, I'm fine. I could say, I'm moving slow. A week later, Samantha brought me a cane. Not because you're weak, because you're smart. Emmy wrote in her notebook, slow is still movement. I believed her. One evening, I found an old cassette labeled Summer. I pressed play. The song We Drove to the Ocean with June filled the room. Between the lines, I heard, don't postpone life when you have today. I wrote it big on the first page of a clean notebook. Race morning smelled like coffee and wet asphalt. Safety pins flashed and music drifted. No superheroes here, just people testing still can. I pinned my bib and ran a hand along my laces, the bridge I chose to trust. Emmy stood with her walker. Samantha set the pace a bit ahead. Nico kept to our side. Dr. Chang waved from the sidelines. We started without drama. The first kilometer floated on adrenaline. The second brought a familiar pinch. I eased and breathed. Emmy's face sharpened with focus. We walked in fives. 5, pause, 5. Spectators waved signs and names. On one cardboard board, being there is a step. I pretended not to see to keep from crying. Kilometer 3 was a wall. My shoulders begged for the old life. Stop and hide in emails. I said aloud, no heroics, no retreat. Nico nodded. Emmy called her own pause and counted to 5. She was leading as much as we were. A thin rain crossed the 4th kilometer, left the road shining. Samantha's thumbs up. Dr. Chang's rare, good job. We saved our words. Only 2 left inside, together and more. The last stretch stretched forever. The crowd pressed in. Someone blasted a song too loud. Children handed water cups. I felt a surge and could have sped up, but looked at Emmy, stubborn chin, sweat on her temples, fingers gripping the walker, and stayed with her. We had promised to finish as a pair. We stepped under the arch. The world went loud. Ribbons, medals, a curb to sit on. Warm emptiness spread through me. The kind you get when a belt finally loosens. No record set. I didn't shoot the clock. I shot our shoes on wet asphalt and taped the picture into Emmy's sticker book. The song from that old cassette played through the speakers. Not nostalgia. Instructions. Step. Breathe. Step. After the race, life didn't turn into a highlight reel. The audit ended with a fine and a lesson I'll remember longer than any amount. I let Kelly go, hired a firm, and stopped being the only pillar holding a shaky roof. We cleared a corner of the warehouse, painted the wall, set rails, mats, wobble pads. Nico brought colleagues. Samantha gathered volunteers. Dr. Chang wrote out safe progressions. We called the place Steps and Stories. In the corner sits a big table with cards. Everyone writes a small today. Stood without the walker 3 seconds. Climbed 2 steps. Didn't cry when it didn't work. Emmy prints neatly and adds funny faces. On the wall is June's photo. Not a shrine, a light. Next to it, the same hand-painted sign. Being there is a step. Home sounds different now. Bills share magnet space with Emmy's drawings and odd items, star bandages, lemon stickers. I no longer rush to wipe sneaker prints off the porch. Some nights we do family loops. Me, Emmy, Samantha, Nico. Someone tells a story. Someone is quiet. The quiet leads just as well. The moral arrived without trumpets. Don't carry people, support them. Ask for help before you fall. Rest on time. Stop confusing hold with uphold. The first drains both. The second returns strength. Parents visit with the same guarded look I once wore. What do you do here that the hospital doesn't? Nico shows schedules. Samantha shows rails. I show Emmy's notebook. We don't teach speed here, I say. We teach not quitting. Shoulders drop 2 centimeters. Breathing starts lower. At our opening, the whole block came. Cookies, an old speaker, a box of paper cups. Samantha led a gentle warm-up. Even the I'm just watching folks moved their shoulders. Nico showed our 5-step stair. Dr. Chang stood by the med kit and said, I feel calm here. The best review. Sometimes I stay after hours and walk the track barefoot. The rubber springs, lights hum. Down the hall, someone says, one more. My palm rests on the wall under our mantra. Inside, the house I live in has changed. More windows, fewer locked rooms. I sit on the porch with a notebook that no longer fears blank pages. The street is soft with evening, skate wheels, a dog, a late newspaper on a step. Inside, Emmy turns a page. I write new goals. A family 5K in spring. Emmy, 10 steps without her walker. Me, no more rushing to impress a scoreboard. On page 1, big letters, don't postpone life. Below it, from an old photo, promise you'll be there. Under both, my own line now. I'll try. Every day. I set a shell from June on the sill. Next to it, a cheap medal that somehow feels heavy. Around the corner, Samantha laughs, riding off. In our chat, Nico posts next week's plan. Dr. Chang sends a lone emoji, her version of fireworks. I feel a quiet joy for small things. Emmy flipping a page, laces lying straight, someone in our hall holding their breath before one more. We're building story steps, a wooden staircase with wide landings. After each landing, you sit and write 2 lines. What worked? Who I thank? Samantha votes for markers. Nico votes for pencils. I smile and sand the wood. The tool doesn't matter. The pause does. Parents write from other neighborhoods. Can I bring my grandma? Yes. I'm scared to watch my child try and fail. I share what Emmy taught me. Don't rescue too early. Give failure a chair next to success. Before bed, I walk the house in the dark. I stop by Emmy's door. Her breathing is even, like a morning track. The kitchen timer is quiet now. We only set it on purpose. My old ocean jacket still smells like salt. I touch the shell to it and feel the past push me forward like a wave. There will be new audits and new tired days. Some steps will miss, some will amaze. I don't need guarantees. I have 3 rules on the mirror and 1 rule inside. Being there is a step. It's enough. Tomorrow, I'll set a cup under the coffee machine, tie my laces straight, and unlock the gym. The air will smell like rubber and marker. Someone will hold their breath before their first one more. And I'll be in the room, not to carry, but to be. More than it sounds. Exactly what we need.